This next girl, the last girl, wrapping us up tonight, she sent me a piece yesterday that started with, "There may or may not be a warrant out for my arrest in the state of Arizona." And I said, yes. And then she emailed me this morning and said, that's not good enough. So I can't wait to hear what she's got now. Put your hands together, Jeanie Bergen.
Sorry, I rescinded my arrest story. I have something else to tell you about. Throughout my entire life, there's always been something preventing me from being cool. Whether it was my snaggletooth or the fact that I pooped on the floor at summer camp. Cool kids just weren't drawn to me. But that's okay, because miraculously, I always managed to meet friends who were just as weird, if not weirder, than I. In the first grade, I was friends with a little Mexican girl named Naomi Sanchez. She looked like a gremlin, so she didn't have a lot of friends either. She invited me over to her family's apartment one day, and I stole her Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen sing-along tape from her bedroom. Yeah, don't talk back, but I hit. When she asked me if I borrowed it, I was like, no. And then I stopped talking to her. I didn't get invited to a lot of birthday parties. One time, I was actually asked to leave a party early because I tried to take the Barbie that I was giving as a gift. Apparently, the other little girl already had that Barbie, and since I didn't, I was like, I'll keep it. Then her mom said, no, we're going to exchange it and get something else. What a cheapo. My grandma picked me up just as they were bringing out the cake. Since I was a little fatty, that really pissed me off. Good thing I didn't know the phrase, suck my dick, because I surely would have shouted it on my way out the door. In an effort to make me a civilized young lady, my grandmother enrolled me in ballet class. When I got kicked out of that for tripping the other little girls as they were doing their pirouettes, she signed me up for Girl Scouts. We would do arts and crafts and laugh and laugh. Okay, the first part is true. I didn't really like arts and crafts, and it turned out that my grandma didn't like them either. When I brought home a padded mat that I had made, she was like, what's this? And I responded, it's a mat for your knees. You know, when you wash the floor. She promptly threw it in the trash can and took me out of Girl Scouts. They weren't exactly painting the ideal picture of a woman's role in society. Since things weren't really working out for me with the girls, I tried making friends with boys. They would either hit me or try and show me their dicks. So, it wasn't until the 5th grade that I started to meet girls like Sarah Sproul, who had 3-inch thick glasses, a bowl cut, and a mom who liked to pop our pimples. Now we were talking. I remember noticing one of my first pimples at Sarah's house, and she's like, let's go downstairs and show my mom. She'll pop it for you. Oh, and if you ever get a blackhead, let me know. She's really good at those. I didn't even know what a blackhead was, but it sounded awesome. One time, I got my period in Sarah's trundle bed. I woke up, saw a brown stain, thought it might be poop, and promptly covered it up with the sheets. When I went into the bathroom and realized it was my period, I went and told Sarah, who had since discovered the stain in her bed. She wasn't even mad at me. That's so cool, you have your period, she said. You get to wear pads. A few weeks later, I slept over again, and the stain was still there. I think she kept it as a reminder of how cool I was. Unfortunately, I moved away not shortly after, and we lost touch. I hope her mom eventually washed those sheets. There may have really been a little poo mixed in there. It happens. Though I was devastated when I moved, I honestly believe fate intervened and said, it's time for Jeanie to meet her soul sisters. Annabelle DeNavis, who even at the age of 12 was 6 feet tall, make that 6 feet 2 inches with her headgear, and Emily Thompson, a heavyset girl with a heart of gold. Within moments of meeting these girls, I knew that we were going to be friends for life. But they didn't. One day, after striking up a conversation with Emily at our side-by-side lockers, I turned to her with a straight face and said, would you cry if I died? She giggled nervously and was like, I guess so. Yes, shouted my inner creeper. I really wanted her to say so. Then that would mean that she liked me just as much as I liked her. Even though we only went to school together for 2 years before I had to move again, Emily, Annabelle, and I are still the best of friends. It's as if moments have never passed from the time we were clipping out pictures of Taylor Hanson from Teen Bop magazine, taping his face to our Jeannies, and taking pictures of each other's crotches in my bedroom. Don't worry, we had pants on, so it wasn't some sort of freak show. Besides, those photographs served a purpose. We sent them to TV shows, like Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, and Montel, in hopes that that would prove how much we deserve to meet the Hanson brothers. If only we would have included snapshots of Zach and Isaac on our gines, maybe then our requests would have been granted. In high school, my streak of weirdness continued. No one ever said, oh, that Jeanie, she is so popular and cool, let's give her a crown. But like, big deal, those crowns are cheap. Besides, I had already been crowned with my best friend, Janae, the pig farmer. Technically, pigs don't get farmed, but that's the closest I ever came to understanding what it was that she was up to. I used to go to her pig shows at the county fair. She would get all dressed up and walk her pig around in a giant circle, guiding it with a little stick. Some dude in a cowboy hat would watch intently from the center of the ring, while the rest of us sat in the stands, certainly on the edge of our seats. Janae's pig would always win whatever it was going for. And I would greet her like this after each show. Good job, Janae. You look so pretty out there. I like your belt buckle. I would have never worn it, but somehow she could pull it off. The other people just look like dum-dums. In case you didn't think I was wearing a belt, here's a big buckle to prove it. In college, I paid $4,000 per semester to partake in Chi Omega, one of the most expensive sororities on campus. I have no idea why it was so pricey. I didn't even live in the house, and the food they served for breakfast and lunch was shit. Plus, there were never any bowls because one of the girls was hoarding them in her room so she could vomit in them. I was naive and did some pretty weird shit too, so I assumed she just liked the smell of vomit lingering in her room. It was in Chi Omega that I met Anne. She loved to drink and get laid, as did I. We weren't lesbian together or anything. We just spent our fair share of time at the fraternity houses. On one particular night at Delta Tau Delta, I couldn't find Anne. I knocked on almost every bedroom door before finding her handcuffed to a bed in a dark room. When I opened the door, the light shone on her face. I remember thinking she looked like a cat because there was this weird reflection in her eyes. Anne, are you okay? I'm fine, go away, she shouted. Because I was a little drunk, I stood there for a few more minutes just staring silently. Before shutting the door. Anne was a good friend of mine, so I wanted to be sure things were cool. She was on top, I should have known they were. Anne wiped me once. Apparently, I fell asleep on the toilet after drinking one too many Stolies around the world. It's when you mix all the different flavored Stolies and wake up with the next morning with your friend saying, I wiped you last night. Seriously, that was the first thing she said to me the next morning. Jeanie, I wiped you last night. I was so confused. That's great that she had the guy that she was sleeping with carry me back into my bedroom, but why did she have to wipe me? Couldn't she just let me air dry? And that's when I realized Anne was a good friend. To her and all of my other weirdo friends, I say thank you for being a friend. Lord knows I'm lucky to have you.